Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Fox98 here. Welcome back to a brand new video for you guys today here on the channel. Today, we're going to be looking at some stuff heading towards F1 2019 season, and this was one thing that in my community post that you guys are very interested in seeing and was the most liked thing to actually see. So we're going to start things off with the prediction of the Constructors Championship for the 2019 season. Before we get into today's video, I've left a link in the description down below to Williams Gaming's channel. Main reason because is I've just realised that he uploaded his yesterday. Basically, we had a conversation yesterday, and we both were recording videos, and it turns out we recorded the same thing. So, yeah, if you want to go and see his prediction, might as well. Linked in the description down below. Because his is very interesting, and also mine's interesting, obviously. More interesting. But anyway, let's get straight into it. We're going to start at the bottom, and coming in at number 10, I have picked Toro Rosso to finish bottom of the Constructors Championship for the 2019 season. This is a very bold prediction, but overall, I don't believe Toro Rosso are going to be that impressive in this season. Toro Rosso last season actually did a very good job considering the power unit that they had and just overall taking the amount of penalties that they did. However, in my personal opinion, Toro Rosso are just not really a team that I can see is ever going to excel. It's literally that development team. With this season as well, Franz Tost has already stated that he will take as many penalties as possible in order to help the development of the Honda power unit if necessary. This overall believes to me that Toro Rosso, the only reason in my opinion that they were getting the good results is because they took so many power unit penalties that they just kept having fresh power units. So in my opinion, I don't think Toro Rosso are going to do well at all this season, and I do believe they are going to finish bottom of the championship, mainly due to the fact of how many penalties they're going to have. They've got an exciting driver lineup in Kvyat and Albon, but I just don't believe Toro Rosso are just going to be any good. I just feel like as well as they're going to take the hits with all the penalties coming their way, I feel like it's just going to allow the other teams to continue to strive forwards and develop even more. Moving into number 9, and I've gone for Williams to finish 9th in the championship, a place higher than what they did last season. Williams last season were absolutely horrendous, and it was clear to see why, with their aerodynamics and chassis being an absolute waste of space, and pretty much in my opinion, Williams are on that downwards path where I don't honestly believe they'll be able to come back. However, the only reason that I've decided to pick Williams to move to number 9 instead of finishing in 10th is mainly because of their driver lineup. I've gone for, obviously, the likes of George Russell and Robert Kubica. The two of them, I know for a fact, are extremely talented drivers. And for me, I feel like their driver skill is going to allow them to finish higher up. The only place I can see Williams really scoring points is going to be at the power circuits, for like Italy, where they score points, Azerbaijan, for an example, as well. That's where I can only really see them getting some points. If they can get their aerodynamic and chassis back up into a decent section, then they're in with a good shout. They did start to drop off in the turbo hybrid era, but obviously in 2016 they were still competitive and they were fighting Force India. And then in 2017, when the rules came into place, they were still kind of fighting Force India, but they were a little bit further back. And then another evolution stage in 2018 dropped them even further away. But with some more aerodynamic changes coming in 2019, which will simplify and help things a little bit, I'm not going to rule them out of the equation just yet. Moving then to number 8 in the Constructors Championship, I've gone for the Racing Point team. Now, the reason I've put Racing Point at number 8, I'm a bit obviously they're still pretty much keeping all of their staff from Force India. It's just it's called Racing Point, and they are going to get a lot more money into it. So Racing Point may be higher than before. However, I just don't know. It's a brand new team basically. And, you know, Lawrence may have a different idea for what he wants his team to do. And overall, the Racing Point team may have a different idea of where they want to approach. Don't be surprised if Racing Point finish higher than where they are. But for me, in my opinion, I do genuinely believe that Racing Point, at the moment, I'm going to put as P8. Obviously, Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll being in there. Perez, we know, is a great driver. Honestly, he definitely failed though. His problem is that he failed when he joined McLaren, but McLaren wasn't really that competitive in 2013 anyway. And he'll always cement himself, in my opinion, as a midfield driver. But, you know, with Lance Stroll as well, I mean, he's had some good spells. You can't say that he hasn't. When he qualified on the front row in Italy in 2017, and when he got the podium in Azerbaijan as well, he kept his nose clean. But overall, everyone knows my opinion on Stroll. I really don't like him. But yeah, I put them for number 8 for now. But like I said, it's just a prediction, so you never know what's going to happen in this season. And then going into number 7, I put Sauber into 7th place for the championship. Sauber for me are now on the rise. 2018 was a breakthrough season for Sauber. The start of the season didn't really go so well with both Marcus Ericsson and Charles Leclerc really struggling to get out of Q1. And they were just, you know, constantly having issues. And Charles Leclerc, always remember at the start of the season, was really struggling to get used to his car. And when he had his spin in Bahrain, and the same again in the race in China, for that fact. But moving on, as the season started to get forward, obviously we had Azerbaijan when Charles Leclerc scored a great points finish. And just ever since, like from the start of the season, when we saw them at the bottom, I remember going to a talk with Joe Saywood. If you know who he is, you might want to check out his podcast. But he's if you do know who he is, you'll know what I'm on about. But I went to go and see Joe Saywood, and we had a conversation, and we were talking about how Sauber were going to be useless throughout the season. They're just like, they're going to be awful. And they proved everyone wrong. They really did. And with a driver lineup of Antonio Giovinazzi, who I think has got some great talent, and he showed that in the 2017 Australian Grand Prix. Not so much in China, but he showed it in Australia. And also with Kimi Raikkonen there. I genuinely actually think that Raikkonen could potentially be best of the rest for point scoring finishes for that Sauber team, and they left 2018 on a massive high, and I can only see them getting better for 2019. For 6th place in the championship, I've gone for Haas F1. Haas, of course, enjoyed their best season in Formula 1 so far, and I believe that they are once again going to enjoy a very strong season for themselves. Obviously, it was pretty much down to some clever tactics from Haas, e.g. pretty much putting all the assets of the Ferrari 2017 car on, but obviously Gene Haas denied that due to the fact that the Haas had a longer wheelbase, so it was not copying Ferrari. So clever there from Gene. It's probably something I would have said, to be honest. But yeah, Haas, they're pretty much just staying simple. And the only reason that I put them in 6th is because the next team, I think, is going to just do better than they did last season. So yeah, Haas in P6 in my personal opinion. Obviously with Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen being there. Honestly, if Grosjean and Magnussen have a better start to the season, or should I say Grosjean has a better start to his season, they could potentially actually finish 5th in the championship. But obviously, you just don't know how people are going to perform in each season. Obviously, Grosjean, it took him like, what, 8 races to score points. And then Magnussen was just doing the job for Haas. And obviously, as we remember, you know, Haas, they were like 4th and 5th, and they both retired in Australia. So they definitely, probably last season, could have finished in 5th if they just got themselves together at the start of the year. But I still think Haas will be very strong. But it's all going to be down to the Ferrari power unit for me, in my opinion. Haas obviously have a good car in terms of, like, overall balance. But if the Ferrari power unit doesn't go well, then you can't really blame them if they don't really do that well. So that's what I've gone there. Now, for 5th in the championship, this is a really bold prediction, but I've gone with McLaren to finish 5th. Last season, McLaren were laughable at best, basically. It didn't start for them well from from Barcelona last year in testing. We saw straight away in testing that when they tried to put the Renault power unit into the car, the chassis was too small for them, so they had to, well, the Renault power unit was too big, so they had to readjust from there. So already their design was flawed because they had to correct that. Following from that, all the pieces that they wanted to put on the 2018 car didn't arrive until the Spanish Grand Prix throughout the season. So they were on the back foot from Barcelona testing because they weren't ready for the season. And as we saw, the McLaren car was good, but it had so much drag on the thing that it was literally a dog in a straight line because of the amount of drag that it had. It was just literally, it was ridiculous how much it had. So in my personal opinion, I think McLaren are going to get their act together again this season. They've got Carlos Sainz in there, they've got Lando Norris. 2 drivers that personally I really like. I love Carlos Sainz, I just think he's a great guy. And Lando Norris, as much as he didn't actually shine as loads as I thought he would in F2, I thought he would have got a few more race victories than just, I think it was only Bahrain he got a race victory, but still, he's shown some great skill, especially I can remember his double overtake in Abu Dhabi and also in Silverstone as well. Yeah, honestly, if Renault makes steps forward with their power unit, which obviously we all hope that they do, and McLaren sorts out their chassis and just give the car less drag, they're right in there, honestly. And I honestly believe that they can do really well this season. So that's why I put McLaren in at number 5. Probably the most controversial one, though, of the entire episode is Red Bull being in P4 in the championship with someone else being in front of them. Why on earth, Tom, have you decided to put Red Bull in 4th in the championship, you biased little prick? There's a reason I put them in P4. Don't judge me. It's a prediction. Allow it. Anyway, Red Bull 4th in the championship. Why have I done this? Basically because the unknown of the Honda power unit partnership. That is literally why. Obviously, Toro Rosso have said that they are willing to take penalties against Red Bull. So, say for an example, Honda wanted to bring a new power unit in. They would then chuck it on the Toro Rosso, see if it works, and then pop it on the Red Bull car later. If Honda continue to make loads and loads and loads and loads of engine development changes like they did last time around, I still feel that Red Bull are going to take loads of penalties this year. I just personally believe it, in my opinion. Following from that, we don't actually know how well the Honda power unit is going to work with the Red Bull car. Sure, Red Bull can say all they want about all their data from the Toro Rosso to the Red Bull. You can compare that all you like. But no matter how much you compare the data from the Honda power units to the Toro Rosso car, they are completely different cars. And I say that because if the Toro Rosso car was the exact same car as the Red Bull, they would both be fighting each other tooth and nail in the championship. But they're not. The Toro Rosso is a weaker car. And sure, the Honda power unit, it showed unreliability, and they had to give lots of penalties. Literally every single race you see a Honda car having a penalty. And you can chuck it in the Toro Rosso and it will work fine. But chuck it in a Red Bull, and you don't know if it's going to be fine. Your perfect example of this is McLaren. McLaren had the Honda power unit, and that relationship didn't work. We saw in 2017 that the Honda power unit was kind of actually improving. And we saw that McLaren had an extremely good chassis. Move on to 2018, and you think, right, McLaren, they're going to get some podiums now because they put the Renault power unit in, which has got more power and is more reliable. You put that in, and they're actually taking a step backwards. So you can never be certain. We can say all we like that the Honda is potentially faster than the Renault power unit, all you like, but what we don't understand, and what we as a collective audience here have to just predict, hence why this is a prediction video, is we don't know if that Honda power unit is going to work with the Red Bull. We don't know, because obviously, as we know, the Red Bull is a really skinny car. They always go with a skinny chassis, so maybe they have to increase that, and they have to basically suit the needs of the Honda power unit. And as much as the Red Bull car was so unreliable last year, and that was a lot of it down to the power unit, if you think of the other Renault cars, e.g. the Renault manufacturing team, and also McLaren, did they suffer the same reliability as Red Bull? No, they genuinely didn't. Renault, in terms of it, if I can think of them off my head, the only one I can think of, which was a power unit related problem, was Hülkenberg when his car blew up in Austria. That's the only time I can remember that happening. So from where I'm thinking of it, is Red Bull just didn't have, their car just wasn't working eligibly with the Renault power unit, and that's just genuinely what I believe. I'm probably wrong. I mean, Red Bull are an extremely solid team with Pierre Gasly now in there, who I enjoyed watching last season, and Max Verstappen, who genuinely needs to get a title challenge going because he deserves to. As much as I hate the guy off the track, I love him when he's on the track. And yeah, it's a big step in the unknown for Red Bull. Going to the Honda power unit. It may be working with Toro Rosso at the moment, but that doesn't guarantee it's going to work with them. And just like McLaren did, they've been swapping power units a lot recently. It can send you backwards, and that's what I'm going with as number 4. Moving on then into number 3, who's actually going to go 3rd in the championship? I picked Renault to go 3rd in the championship. That's a bold statement, I know, but I went with Renault there. Obviously, they've got, well, first of all, they got me hiccup in, but we got Nico Hülkenberg, we got Daniel Ricciardo at the Renault team. A lineup that is actually one of my most intrigued and one of my most favourite lineups out so far this year. Nico Hülkenberg is a guy that I genuinely am still shocked to this day hasn't scored a podium yet in Formula 1. It's actually completely ridiculous that he hasn't managed to help the opportunity. But why did I pick Renault? It's simple. Ever since Renault joined back in 2016, they have been on the rise ever since. 2016, they did, okay. 2017, they made progress. 2018, they were even faster than before. And the main reason is manufacturing. They are a manufacturer team. Manufacturers, they've got more money, they can splash it all in there. and they've just been getting better and better and better and better. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be constantly scoring podiums left, right, and centre, but with their driver lineup, I just think it's a lot more intriguing. Hülkenberg scored best of the rest for the season last year, but now he's going to be right up against it with Daniel Ricciardo. Arguably, in my opinion, the best overtaker in Formula 1. So, Hülkenberg is going to be tested to his absolute limit with Daniel Ricciardo right alongside of him. And obviously, Hülkenberg is going to want to try and improve on that. And like I said, the Renault power unit, just go back to Ferrari, for example. In 2014, Ferrari were useless. Move on to 2015, and Ferrari all of a sudden shot out of nowhere and were right up in the fight. So, Renault could easily do the same thing. They could be useless, and all of a sudden, bam, they've got the best, they've got an insane power unit. You never know in Formula 1. It is unpredictable right up until the first race. Even testing, you can't take things for granted. You can take reliability, can't really take anything else. So, I've gone with Renault for P3, mainly because I just genuinely think as a manufacturer they are improving and they are doing better every single season and making big gains. As a manufacturing team, they've got a lot of money, so they can afford to spend that. And also, in my opinion, the driver lineup, Daniel Ricciardo is the best overtaker in Formula 1, so he's going to scythe his way through the midfield like no man's business. And Hülkenberg, I know, is an extremely talented and consistent driver, and he's going to be pushed to the limit, and I genuinely think Renault could finish third in the championship. Second place in the championship, this one was actually really hard to do. I went with Ferrari for second in the championship, and there's only one real reason, or there's a few reasons why. First of all, obviously, with Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc in Ferrari, that's going to be an exciting battle anyway, and who's going to come out on top between Vettel and Charles Leclerc? In my opinion, I actually think Charles is going to, but, you know, I could be wrong. Why have I put Ferrari second? The only reason that I've really put Ferrari in second, despite the fact that they're making gains and they're pretty much now on level terms with Mercedes, is because of the managerial changes. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. The biggest issue that I've had with Ferrari is that their consistent managerial changes within their team and just constantly bringing in new people to do new different ideas. It's like football when someone is, you know, bottom of the league and they have like 3 managers in a season. And this is kind of the same thing here. For example, with the likes of Red Bull, with the likes of Mercedes-Benz, ever since those teams were around, they have not made managerial changes. They have stuck as one and they're there as a unit, and they know each other off by heart. With Ferrari now, they've got brand new managers in, so they've got to learn the manager's ideas, and they may work and they may not. And that's why I put them second in the championship. If they work, and if Vettel and Charles Leclerc perform at the standards that we know they can, Ferrari, I think, could potentially wipe the floor with Mercedes-Benz for one reason, which I'll move on to when we get to Mercedes. I think they could wipe the floor with them. Genuinely, if their car is strong, like it was last year, 2018, or if not equal, in my opinion, I believe that Mercedes and Ferrari were equal last year. I just felt Hamilton was the better driver, hence why he won and dominated in the end. But if the managerial change doesn't work, we know what Ferrari are like. In 2015, we saw them shoot up to fight Mercedes. And we were sort of like, oh my god, they're slowly now catching up. 2016, they didn't even win a Grand Prix and just dropped backwards again. And you know what they're like. Sometimes they're right up there and they're so close, and then they just drop back all of a sudden. It's like, oh, where did Ferrari go? So Ferrari are unpredictable, basically, is the only way to put that. And then finally, to retain their crown as the Constructors Champions, I've gone for Mercedes-Benz. Obviously, through rules and regulation changes, Mercedes have just come out on top. They've just stuck as a unit. And for me, in my opinion, they've got arguably probably the best driver in this current generation racing, and that is Lewis Hamilton. And love him or hate him, you cannot deny the efforts that he puts on track. The only thing which could potentially set Mercedes back, Bottas is their biggest bogey right now. If Valtteri Bottas performs like he did in 2018, Mercedes will not win the Constructors' Championship, in my opinion. I am basing this off the fact that Bottas is going to come back fresh and he's going to work for his position. Bottas is going to... I don't want Bottas to hold back Mercedes-Benz. At the start of the season, Bottas was the best driver between the two of them. However, he just failed to pick up a victory for stuff that wasn't his fault, like Austria, he DNF'd. There was another one where he DNF'd Azerbaijan when he got a win. China, the safety car kind of played into Red Bull's hands. And then Bahrain, he didn't go for the overtake when he just should have just lunged it because he had better tyres, could have been better on the brakes and better traction and really forced Vettel's hand, but he didn't. So, honestly, I think that is why. But The problem I have with Bottas and what constantly sets him back is when Hamilton just gets into his zone. And it's always the second half of the season, pretty much. You know, you've got Hamilton in Singapore, literally showed why he is a 5-time champion. He goes and sets a 1:36.0 and Bottas is like 7/10 off the pace. If Bottas can show what the pace that he has got, like genuinely, Bottas is a great driver. Like, I can't take that away from him. If Bottas, what he's lacking is he's lacking aggression when it comes to overtaking. He lacks pace on a consistent basis. If Bottas gets those two together, he can give a fight to Lewis Hamilton. And what that shows as well is how strong Nico Rosberg was when him and Hamilton were fighting each other, because they were literally tooth and nail for 3 seasons. And then Rosberg leaves and Bottas gets in, and you just see how much Hamilton's trumping it. Maybe Hamilton's taking it to another level, but Bottas just needs that consistency, and if he does, they're going to win the championship. But there it is, guys. That is my prediction for the Constructors' Championship for 2019. Mercedes, Ferrari, Renault, Red Bull, McLaren, Haas, Sauber, Racing Point, Williams, and Toro Rosso. If you guys have enjoyed today's video, feel free to drop it a like. Subscribe if you're new around here as well, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, if you enjoy the content you do see. Next video I'm probably going to do is going to probably be a teammate head-to-head battle. I'm going to see which, obviously all the driver lineups, and I'm going to go through who I personally believe is going to come out on top throughout the season and why. But until then, guys, thank you very much for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care all. Peace.